Have you ever heard of a place where people routinely live past 100, some even said to reach 140? A place hidden deep in the mountains, untouched by modern chaos, where time itself seems to move differently? Welcome to the Hunza Valley. Nestled in the remote Karakoram range of northern Pakistan, the Hunza Valley is often called the land where people forget to die. For decades, explorers, doctors and journalists have travelled here, amazed by the vitality of its inhabitants. Men and women in their 90s climbing steep hills, elders with bright eyes and perfect teeth, centenarians still tending their gardens and walking miles each day. It almost sounds mythical, doesn't it? But is it myth or reality? The Hunza Valley is real. A breathtaking paradise surrounded by glaciers and peaks that rise over 7,000 meters. Isolated from the rest of the world for centuries, the Hunza people developed a lifestyle that many believe holds the secret to extreme longevity. Imagine this: crystal clear, glacial water rich in minerals, food grown in pure mountain soil without chemicals, a diet of apricots, whole grains, fresh vegetables and almost no processed sugar. No factories, no fast food, no pollution. Just a rhythm of life dictated by nature, not machines. The question is, can such a way of living really add decades to human life? Or is it just a romantic story the outside world tells itself? Let's dig deeper. The Hunza diet is legendary. One of its cornerstones is the apricot. Not just the fruit, but the kernel inside the seed, often dried and pressed for oil. Apricots here aren't just food, they're medicine, culture and identity. Rich in vitamins, antioxidants and natural oils, apricots are consumed daily, believed to protect the body from disease and keep the skin youthful. Visitors often describe Hunza women in their 70s and 80s still looking radiant with smooth skin and strong bodies. Is it simply genetics or the power of what they eat every day? And it's not just apricots. The Hunza diet is low in calories but high in nutrients. Lots of vegetables, beans and barley. Almost no meat, maybe a few times a year, usually chicken or goat. No refined sugar. No sodas, no junk food. Think about that for a moment. In modern cities, we are surrounded by sugar and processed snacks. In Hunza, a sweet treat might simply be dried fruit. Now ask yourself, how different would your health look if you lived like that? Water is another key element. Hunza water comes from melting glaciers, flowing down the valleys in milky white streams. Scientists who studied it found it carries high levels of minerals and a unique crystalline structure. Locals call it living water. Some researchers suggest that this mineral-rich glacial water may play a role in their remarkable health. Imagine drinking pure, untouched water every day of your life. Compared to chlorinated tap water or bottled plastic we consume elsewhere. Could something so simple make such a huge difference? And then there's movement. In Hunza, life is physical by necessity. Terraced fields cling to steep mountainsides. People walk for miles carrying firewood, tending crops, visiting neighbours. Elders in their 80s and 90s still climb hills every day. Exercise here isn't a choice, it's woven into survival. Now compare that to the modern lifestyle, sitting at desks for 8 hours, commuting in cars, spending evenings on couches. Which body do you think ages better? Hunza life also has almost no chronic stress. Their days follow the sun. Work is communal. Family bonds are strong. People support each other because survival depends on it. Studies show stress accelerates aging more than almost anything else. So what happens when stress is nearly absent from daily life? Do we age slower? Is the mind calmer and therefore the body healthier? These are the questions that make Hunza so fascinating. But before we declare this valley a fountain of youth, let's pause and be critical. Are the stories exaggerated? Some skeptics argue yes. Records in Hunza are not always precise. Birth certificates often didn't exist until recent decades. So when someone claims to be 140, is it truly verified? Or just local legend? Yet even skeptics admit this. Hunza people are undeniably healthier than average. Diseases common elsewhere, like cancer, diabetes, and heart problems, are extremely rare here. Even if their ages are inflated, the vitality of their elders is undeniable. Ask yourself, if you saw a man of 100 carrying firewood uphill, wouldn't you question your own limits of aging? And so the mystery deepens. Is it their diet, their water, their physical lifestyle, their genetics, or a combination of all? Could Hunza hold clues, not just for living longer, but for living better? That's just the beginning. Under the next part, we'll dive deeper into the daily rhythms of Hunza life, their cultural beliefs about aging, and what modern science really says about their health. But let me ask you something right now. Would you trade the comforts of modern life for the chance to live 120 years? And if the answer is yes, how far would you go? Imagine waking up every morning with the sun. No alarms. Just the soft glow of light over the snow-capped peaks of the Karakoram. For the Hunza people, this isn't a rare vacation moment, it's everyday life. Their days follow nature's rhythm, not the clock of a machine. And this rhythm may be one of their most powerful secrets. So let's look closer at what truly shapes their longevity. The Hunza diet, more than food, a way of life. We already mentioned apricots, but the truth is, their entire diet forms a remarkable system of balance. They eat fresh vegetables, spinach, carrots, potatoes, beans, cabbage, often grown right outside their homes. Imagine walking just a few meters to pick your lunch, knowing exactly where it came from. No pesticides, no chemicals, just soil, water and sun. Then there are grains, barley, millet, buckwheat, staples that have nourished humans for thousands of years but have almost vanished from modern tables. These grains are high in fiber, minerals and plant-based protein. In Hunza, flatbreads made from barley or wheat are eaten daily, sometimes with lentils, sometimes with beans. Always simple, always whole. Fruit is also a cornerstone. Besides apricots, apples, cherries, mulberries and grapes are cultivated. But here's the difference. Fruit is eaten seasonally. No bananas shipped from halfway across the world. No strawberries in winter. The Hunza people eat what grows at that moment in harmony with natural cycles. Could eating with the seasons keep our bodies more in tune with the environment, strengthening health in ways science hasn't fully explained yet? Meat, as we said, is rare. In some families, only a few times a year. Instead, protein often comes from legumes and nuts. And when meat is eaten, it is free-range, organic by, again, skeptics' sake, default, because it comes from their own goats and chickens. Nothing industrial, nothing processed. Think about how different that is from supermarket shelves filled with plastic-wrapped, hormone-injected meat. The power of fasting. Another unique element of the Hunza lifestyle is fasting. Not as a trend, not as a wellness hack, but as a cultural rhythm. During harsh winters or food scarcity, the Hunza traditionally consumed very little, sometimes only apricot juice or light soups. And here's the fascinating part. Modern science now confirms that intermittent fasting can repair cells, boost metabolism, and extend lifespan. The Hunza people had been doing it naturally long before it became a global health craze. Living water, the glacier's gift. Let's return to the water. The milky streams flowing through the valley are unlike ordinary rivers. This is glacier meltwater carrying fine particles of rock, rich in minerals like calcium, magnesium and potassium. Some scientists believe this glacial milk contributes to their vitality. It hydrates at a cellular level, nourishes bones, and maintains a balanced pH in the body. Now think about your own drinking water. Filtered, bottled, often treated with chemicals. Could the purity and mineral richness of Hunza water explain why their bones remain strong even in old age? Could it be the reason why arthritis, osteoporosis, and kidney stones, so common elsewhere, are virtually unknown in Hunza? The rhythm of movement. Every Hunza day is filled with physical activity. But here's the secret. It's not exercise in the modern sense. No gyms, no treadmills. Their movement is functional, woven into life itself. They climb hills to reach their fields. They bend, lift, carry. Children walk long distances to school. Women fetch water and firewood. Elders prune fruit trees. Their bodies are in constant motion, but never under artificial pressure. Compare this to an office worker sitting for 8 hours, then forcing themselves to jog for 30 minutes. Which lifestyle do you think leads to greater health, community, and stress-free living? And perhaps the most overlooked factor, stress, or rather, the absence of it. Hunza society is built on cooperation. Families live together. Neighbours share resources. Social bonds are strong because in a harsh mountain environment, survival depends on unity. Chronic stress, we know, accelerates aging. It damages the heart, weakens immunity, shortens telomeres in our DNA. But in Hunza, stress is rare. There are no endless bills, no corporate deadlines, no social media anxieties. Life is hard, yes, but in Hunza, stress is rare. Could this mental peace be the greatest medicine of all? Longevity and practice. So, what does all this mean in numbers? Reports from early explorers describe Hunza elders regularly living beyond 90, many crossing the century mark. And unlike in modern cities, they weren't confined to beds or hospitals. They were still farming, walking, working. One traveller noted, "A man of 100 carried a load on his back that would tire a youth of 20 in London." That image alone makes us question, what is aging really? But let's be critical. Again, skeptics will argue, birth records were not always reliable. Perhaps not every claim of 130 or 140 years is accurate. But even if ages were exaggerated, the evidence of health is undeniable. No obesity, no cancer epidemics, no widespread diabetes. Ask yourself, in a world drowning in preventable diseases, isn't that already a miracle worth studying? We've seen their diet, we've seen their water, we've seen their rhythm of life. But is that enough to explain why the Hunza are so different from the rest of the world? Or is there something deeper, something written in their very DNA? The question of genetics. Scientists have long wondered whether Hunza longevity is simply genetic luck. After all, they are a small, isolated population living in a closed valley for centuries. Could they carry unique genetic traits that protect them from aging and disease? When researchers tested blood samples, they found something intriguing. Hunza people have extremely low cholesterol levels, low blood pressure, and almost no signs of arterial disease. But here's the catch. When Hunza individuals move away, adopting a modern lifestyle, they quickly lose those advantages. Their health declines and diseases appear. So maybe it isn't just genetics, it's the environment, the lifestyle, the way they live that keeps them so resilient. In other words, Hunza health isn't something you are simply born with. It's something you create every single day. Cultural attitudes toward aging, but genes are only half the story. What about beliefs? What about culture? In Hunza, old age is not feared, it is honoured. Elders aren't isolated in nursing homes. They aren't dismissed as too old or past their prime. Instead, they remain leaders, teachers, storytellers. This sense of purpose may be one of their greatest secrets. Studies worldwide show that people who feel useful, connected, and respected live longer. So, could it be that the Hunza don't just live long because of what they eat or drink, but because of what they believe? Because in their eyes, aging is not decline, it is dignity. Legends of Hunza. Over the years, many travellers carried back extraordinary tales. Stories of men still climbing mountains at 100. Stories of women giving birth at 60. Some accounts even claimed lifespans of 150 years. These numbers may be exaggerated, but the spirit behind them is clear. Outsiders saw something here that challenged their understanding of human limits. That's why Hunza became known as a kind of Shangri-La, a paradise of eternal youth. But unlike fantasy novels, this paradise is real. You can visit it, you can walk its valleys, you can drink its water, and you can meet the people who live in ways most of us can hardly imagine. Hunza meets the modern world, yet things are changing. Roads have been built. Electricity has arrived. Processed foods, sodas, and packaged snacks are making their way into the valley. And already doctors report an increase in diseases that were once unheard of here. Diabetes, high blood pressure, even cancer. It's as if the modern world is stealing away the very secret that made Hunza unique. And that raises a critical question for us. Are we watching the end of an ancient lifestyle that once revealed how humans could thrive for over a century? Or can Hunza teach the rest of the world how to reclaim balance before it's too late? Lessons beyond the valley. Think about it. Even if Hunza lifespans were exaggerated, even if some numbers don't add up, what remains is still extraordinary. A society where elders thrive, where food heals instead of harms, where stress is minimal and community is strong. What would our world look like if we took even a fraction of these lessons and applied them to modern life? Could cities be healthier? Could we live not just longer but better? The deeper mystery. And here's one more thing to consider. Longevity isn't just about the body, it's about the spirit. In Hunza, life is filled with meaning. Their connection to the mountains, to their ancestors, to the cycles of the seasons, gives them a perspective most of us have lost. Perhaps the true secret of Hunza is not a diet, not a water source, not even genetics. Perhaps it is harmony. A harmony between body, mind, community, and nature. Something so simple and yet so rare in the modern world. Science steps in. For decades, scientists have tried to decode Hunza longevity. Was it the apricots? The glacier water, the altitude, or simply good genes? Some researchers point out that calorie intake in Hunza is naturally lower than in industrial societies. Others emphasize the plant-based diet. Modern studies show that eating more vegetables, whole, grains and legumes reduces chronic disease risk by up to 80%. The Hunza don't just follow this, they embody it. But the Hunza also challenge science. Because it's not only about nutrition, it's about the total package. They move constantly, but without gyms. They fast, but without apps. They connect socially, but without social media. In other words, they live naturally what we try to imitate artificially. Doesn't that raise a deeper question? If humans thrive best in simplicity, why do we complicate everything? The Western mirror. In many modern countries, life expectancy is rising, but so are diseases. We live longer, but we spend those extra years sick, medicated, dependent. What kind of victory is that? Hunza elders, by contrast, live long and well, independent, active, with dignity. Isn't that the true definition of health? Not years counted, but years lived with strength. The role of belief and spirit. Scientists hesitate to measure spirit, but we cannot ignore it. Hunza people believe in balance. They believe in gratitude. They believe in community. These values protect them as much as any nutrient. Around the world, studies confirm loneliness kills, stress kills. But Hunza shows the opposite. Togetherness heals. Could it be that the most powerful medicine is not in a pill, but in how we live and love? The warning of change. And yet, Hunza is no longer untouched. With modernization, processed foods enter, bottled sodas appear, hospitals report the first cases of cancer. The secret is fragile, perhaps even dying, and maybe that is the real tragedy, that we only recognize wisdom when it begins to vanish. What can we learn? So what does Hunza teach us? Eat simply, move naturally, respect elders, live in community, drink pure water, stress less, find meaning. These aren't mysteries. They are choices. Choices we have forgotten. Choices we can remember again. A philosophie éternelle. Remote valley. Maybe we don't need to conquer death. Maybe we need to rediscover life. When you look at Hunza, you're not just seeing a people, you're seeing a possibility, a vision of what humanity could be if we realigned with nature and with ourselves. Closing questions. So let me ask you, what if aging doesn't have to mean decline? What if health is not bought but lived? And what if the true fountain of youth isn't hidden in some distant paradise, but waiting in the way we choose to live every single day? Because in the end, Hunza isn't just a valley, it's a mirror reflecting what we have lost and what we might still regain. Call to action. If this journey made you wonder, if it made you question your own lifestyle, then don't let it stop here. Join us, subscribe to this channel, because here we don't just tell stories, we search for truths that sleep quietly until you awaken them.